Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Damon McMurdo, and I'm here to teach you how to compare and order decimals. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our decimal list. In this case, we have 326, 327 and 9/10, 326 and 245 thousandths, 327 and 326 and 3/10. Now, we need to figure out which order we need to put them in, greatest to least or least to greatest. Because I am like I am, we're going to do least to greatest. We're going to do least to greatest. Now, let's pretend, we're going to use this chart, and let's pretend that you don't have this chart to use on the test. Well, as you know on the test, because you've taken the test, as you know on the test, there's going to be graph paper. Get the graph paper out, write down the test, or write down the place value chart, and you'll be good to go. We're going to take each of these numbers and put them on the place value chart, lining up the decimal points. This column has a decimal point in it, so that's where our decimal points are going to go. Make sure we're watching so we can learn from the brilliance of your teacher. All right, the number 326. Class, does it have a decimal point? No. Excellent. Yes, it does. Every number has a decimal point. Every single number has a decimal point. If you don't see it, it's at the end. So the number 326 does have a decimal point. It is just located at the back. I'm going to write that on my chart, making sure that it's written like this, right in front of the decimal point. So I have 326. The next one, 327 and 9/10. I go over here, I have 327 and 9/10. The next number, 326 and 245 thousandths. Make sure behind the decimal point it ends in a THS. If you have to write these in words, anything behind the decimal point you say with THS, and you write with THS. So I have 326 and 245 thousandths. Next number is 327. Does the number 327 have a decimal point?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Excellent. If you don't see it, it's at the end. So we have 327. And my computer's acting crazy here. Let's get this off the screen. And then we have the number 326 and 3/10. It also has a decimal point. 326 and 3/10. Now, the next thing you want to do, as I've told you before, you can put behind the decimal point, behind the last number behind the decimal point, you can put as many zeros as you need to put. Okay? In this case, the biggest one I have is out to the thousandths place. So I'm going to put all of them to go out to the thousandths place. Doesn't change the value. Just like the number $5 and $5 are the same amount. It doesn't change the value to add these numbers to the very back behind the decimal point. So the number 326 is going to go out 326 and 0 thousandths. Again, if you have 0, it doesn't change the value. I like to call these my magic zeros. I'm going to take 327 and 9/10 and make it 327 and 900 thousandths. I'm going to take 327 and make it 327 and 0 thousandths. I'm going to take 326 and make it into 326 and 300 thousandths. Okay? Now, we go back. We find what our directions ask. Our directions ask least to greatest. Least to greatest. What's another way to say the word least? Smallest. So we want to look at this number for the smallest. I'm going to ignore behind the decimal point. So let's just pretend I'm standing here blocking it. I'm going to ignore behind the decimal point. We want the smallest of these numbers. 326, 326, 326. So one of these three is going to be my smallest number. Now, if I have more than one that's the same in front of the decimal point, I have to look behind the decimal point. So I have, and I'm going to ignore everything in front of the decimal point for each one that I put the star by. I have 0 thousandths, I have 245 thousandths, and I have 300 thousandths. So which is bigger, 300 thousandths, 245 thousandths, or 0 thousandths, class? 300 thousandths is the biggest number. So I go back and I find which one this matches, and that means this one is going to be number 1. So I'm going to write it over here. We're going least to greatest, sorry. So which one's the smallest?
326.
326. See, I just messed up. That's why you go back and you look, are we doing least to greatest? So I'm done with 326. Now out of these two, which one's the smallest?
326.
And
245.
and 245 thousandths. So 326 and 245 thousandths. I'm done with that one. Obviously, my next one is 326 and 3/10. Okay, so I'm done with that one. Now I look at what's left. I have 327 and 327. So these are both the same in front of the decimal point. I look behind the decimal point. I have 900 thousandths and I have 0 thousandths. Which one's smaller, class? 0 thousandths. So this is 327. I'm done with that. And obviously that leaves me 327 and 900 thousandths. Or, as it's written here, just 327 and 9/10. All right, as I've just done, I'm going to tell you right now, you're 75% more likely to get a problem right if you show your work. Part of showing your work is make sure you know least to greatest, or greatest to least, or whatever it says. So on a test, you'd want to circle that, or you'd want to write it down if it's an assignment out of the book. Part of showing your work is needing to know your place value chart. If you have trouble remembering your place value chart, write it down on graph paper, because as you know you're doing an assignment or you're doing a test or something like that, as you move on, your brain gets tired. So I write it down right at the beginning. Then I have this. Then I can refer to it when my brain's tired, and it's going to make it a lot easier to get these problems right. Okay? 1 or 2 problems can make a huge difference. Okay? 1 or 2 problems can be the difference between passing or failing. So I'm going to ask you, when you take the test, next or 2 Tuesdays from now, you must show your work. That's going to make the difference between success and failure. Showing your work. Okay? I'm going to give you one of these place value charts so you can look at it, and as you're doing some of these problems today, it'll make it easier so that you can refer to the chart, you can write on the chart. If you need to make the chart bigger, make the chart bigger. Just write down some lines lining up the decimal points. Please remember, every number has a decimal point. If you don't see the decimal point, it's at the back. Let me repeat that for those of you that are not listening. Every number has a decimal point. If you don't see it, it's at the back. Thank you for watching.